Have you ever noticed how two simple words, thank you, can change the tone of a conversation, change how your day is heading? Like when somebody acknowledges you when they didn't have to, and suddenly everything softens a bit. You feel more connected, valued. That's not an accident, my friends. That's authentic gratitude at work. And in this podcast, we're talking about the power of gratitude in relationships, not as politeness or being nice, but as something that quietly shapes trust, communication, and emotional closeness. You'll discover that gratitude doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how we interact with others. It shifts how we listen, how we respond, and how safe we feel with someone. So today, we're zooming out from the individual and into the relationships that shape our lives. And stick with me here, because at the end, I'm going to share a simple, science-backed habit that takes only 60 seconds a day, but can have a lasting and positive effect on your relationships. And as always, if you find this content helpful, please like and subscribe and gently tap the notification bell to keep abreast of our work here. I promise I will not waste your time. This is the Karen Schaal Podcast. I am Karen Schaal. Let's get started. If I'm being honest, most people probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about gratitude. We're polite. We say thank you. We show appreciation when it's expected. And sometimes we even catch ourselves thinking, oh, I should have been more grateful. But for many of us, the thought doesn't go much further than that. We don't often stop to look at whether gratitude is actually present in our lives in a meaningful way or whether we're truly living it throughout the day. What I find interesting is how quickly we notice the opposite. When someone is ungrateful, we feel it immediately. We don't like it. It leaves a bad taste. Most of us instinctively react with, wow, that person was so ungrateful. And there's a lot of research on why ingratitude irritates us so deeply. At the core, it taps into very human needs: fairness, connection, and respect. When gratitude is missing, it can feel like our effort didn't matter at all. Most of us have experienced this in small but memorable ways. You pick out the perfect gift. You're excited for someone to receive it. You give it with care, and there's no acknowledgement, no thank you, no sense of reciprocity. The moment just stops. Now, many of us will continue to give whether we receive thanks or not, and that's normal. But if you've experienced this, you know how it feels. It's not that you need praise, it's that something essential in the give and take of human connection didn't happen. The exchange became a dead end. And that give and take matters. Before I began studying gratitude, I was someone who rarely asked for help. If someone offered, I would usually say, no, that's okay, I've got it. I didn't allow people to be the giver very often. Through my work with gratitude, I realized something important. Gratitude lives in the exchange between giving and receiving. It's a shared movement that builds connection, trust, and community. And when I began to let people help me, I also had to let my walls down. I had to become more vulnerable, even when part of me thought, I could do this so much faster myself. Slowly, I learned to allow that exchange to happen, to receive, and then to genuinely express appreciation in return. You can probably already see how important this is in relationships. When one person is always giving and the other never allows that reciprocal movement, the relationship becomes unbalanced. Even the most giving people will eventually feel drained. They may continue to give because that's who they are. But over time, resentment can quietly grow. In contrast, relationships that include appreciation feel different. People acknowledge effort. They say thank you. They give and receive. They allow vulnerability. That's where gratitude shows its power. It strengthens bonds. It builds trust. It improves communication. It creates the safety we need to be ourselves without fear. When gratitude is absent in relationships, people begin to feel used instead of valued. They feel invisible and unappreciated. Strong emotions surface: sadness, frustration, even betrayal. We've all heard someone say, I did everything for them and it was never appreciated. This one-way dead-end street, which over time erodes trust, not because anyone intended harm, but because feeling unappreciated is draining. People pull back, they offer less, they protect themselves. But when gratitude is present, relationships feel safer. People are more willing to listen. Relationships have a higher chance of improving. There's more patience and trust because a foundation of goodwill lies beneath it all. And you can see the difference clearly. In healthy, balanced relationships, appreciation flows both ways. In unhealthy ones, gratitude is expected, but rarely expressed. Over time, that simply doesn't work. So gratitude, remember, is not just about being polite. It's one of the main ways we show that we value one another. And people have understood this for a very long time. More than 2,500 years ago, Confucius taught that appreciation within families wasn't just a nice quality. It was essential. He believed gratitude helped hold relationships together. It maintained respect. It preserved harmony. Without it, relationships didn't just become tense. They became unstable. In most of the Native American traditions, gratitude was part of everyday life in a very practical way. People expressed thanks not only to one another, but to the earth, the water, the animals, and the environment that sustained them. Gratitude shaped how people related to the world around them. And actually, this type of mental orientation towards seeing the goodness, appreciating yourself, others, and the world around you is really what changed my entire practice of gratitude. That's when everything shifted. Because when you recognize that something matters, what happens? You naturally treat it with more care and responsibility. You show more kindness and compassion to yourself and to others. That's how gratitude works. And that's where the power of gratitude lies. Gratitude changes how we treat one another. So when you step back and look at all of this, across history, across cultures, and across everyday life, the message is consistent. Gratitude has always been understood as something that holds relationships together. It shapes how we treat one another. It influences trust, respect, and connection in ways that feel intuitive, even when we can't quite explain them. What's changed in recent years is that we no longer have to rely only on intuition or tradition to understand why gratitude matters this much. We now have solid research that shows what gratitude actually does inside relationships, how it affects communication and builds trust, how it strengthens bonds over time, and why even small expressions of appreciation can make a measurable difference. So let's turn to the science and take a closer look at what we are seeing, what's really happening when people feel and show gratitude in their relationships. One of the most important researchers studying this is Sarah Algall. She's a psychologist at the University of North Carolina. Her work shows that gratitude functions almost like a relationship booster shot. Here's what she means by that. When someone feels truly appreciated, a few things happen naturally. People become more generous, communication improves, forgiveness comes more easily, and most importantly, people feel closer to the person who appreciated them. Dr. Algo explains this through what she calls the find, remind, and bind theory. Gratitude helps us find people we connect with. It reminds us why they matter, and it binds us emotionally over time. In other words, gratitude doesn't just come from good relationships, it actually helps create and sustain them. This shows up very clearly in romantic relationships. Again, researchers found that couples who regularly express gratitude feel happier together and experience less conflict. Even small moments like thanking your partner for making dinner or doing the dishes makes a difference. Over time, those moments add up. They send a clear message: I see you. I appreciate you. You matter to me. And this isn't just about romantic relationships. More recent research, including a 2025 study published in Frontiers in Psychology, it shows that gratitude improves how we relate to people more broadly. Gratitude increases optimism, reduces stress, and builds empathy, even between people who don't know each other very well. It helps us become more aware of others' needs and more thoughtful in how we respond. In families, the effects are especially strong. Children who practice gratitude tend to have better self control, do better in school, and experience fewer arguments at home. Gratitude helps regulate emotions, which makes everyday family life feel less reactive and more cooperative. And what's important to understand here is how gratitude works beneath the surface. It builds trust. It increases emotional safety, something that is so important. It signals responsiveness, which is simply a way of saying it tells someone, I'm paying attention to you. I care about how you feel. Long-term studies also show that daily experiences of gratitude help relationships last longer, even during stressful or difficult times. And interestingly, this effect is unique. Gratitude does more than just make us feel good. It helps keep us connected. That said, the research also makes something important very clear. Gratitude is not magic. In relationships that are unhealthy or marked by strong power imbalances, for example, expressions of gratitude can feel uncomfortable or even insincere. Context matters here. Gratitude works best when it's genuine and freely given. I think we all understand that. When it's not expected or demanded, when it's given freely. But when it is genuine, gratitude becomes one of the most powerful tools we have for building and maintaining strong relationships. So when we say gratitude is social glue, that's not just a figure of speech. It truly does strengthen connection, reinforce care, and help relationships endure over time. Which brings us to a very practical question. If gratitude is this powerful, how do we actually use it, apply it in everyday life? The real question is this: how do we actually bring more gratitude into our relationships in a way that feels real and doable? Because this isn't about grand gestures, it's about small moments that quietly change the tone between people. One simple place to start is something I call the 3-thing text. It's actually what it sounds like. You text a friend or family member 3 things you genuinely appreciate about them. Nothing fancy, just honest. And here's the interesting part. Even if they don't respond, research shows you will still feel closer afterward. Gratitude begins shifting the relationship from the inside out. Another practice is pretty common practice is creating a gratitude jar, either on your own or with others. You write down small moments that stood out during the day. A smile from a stranger, a kind word, a beautiful sunset, little things that might otherwise slip by. At the end of the week, you pull those little slips of paper out and read them. And if you're doing it with someone else, read them together. It's a simple way to slow down and remember that good things are actually happening. This is training yourself to continue to look for that goodness. Gratitude can also become included in our everyday conversation. At the dinner table, for example, with your family, with your friends, with loved ones. Each person shares one thing they appreciate about someone else there. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic, just has to be sincere. Over time, this kind of practice changes how people see and treat each other. One of my favorites is what I call the thank you, but a deeper practice. Instead of stopping at thank you, you add why. Like, Thank you for making coffee. It made my morning so much easier. Thank you for listening. It helped more than you could possibly know. That one extra sentence helps appreciation land in a completely different way. And then there's a 60-second reset. This is fun. Before you walk into a room, a meeting, a classroom, or even dinner at home, pause for just 1 minute and ask yourself, who am I going to meet here? Who can I silently appreciate right now? That small pause shifts your energy, and people feel it, even if nothing is said out loud. Now, here's a habit I teased earlier. This is the one I really encourage you to try. Every night before bed, write down one small thing someone did for you that day. Then take a moment to imagine how your day might have gone if they hadn't done it. Think about that. How would your day have gone if that person had not showed that kindness, showed that appreciation? That's it. About 60 seconds. When people do this consistently, research shows it boosts happiness, it improves relationships, and makes you more likely to return kindness. Try it for 21 days. It's simple, it's free, and it works. So here's your challenge. This week, choose one person you care about and tell them something specific you're grateful for. Then just notice what happens. Because when we express gratitude, we give people something deeply human, a sense of being seen, of being valued, of belonging. And that changes relationships. It changes families. It changes communities. Gratitude isn't soft. It's powerful. And if this episode gave you something to think about, please pass it forward, share it. Start a small practice or simply say thank you and really mean it. That's where change begins. And please do like and subscribe. It helps us to spread the amazing and important work that is happening in personal development. Work that helps all of us to grow into the brilliance of who we were meant to be. This is the Karen Schaal Podcast. I'm Karen Schaal. Thanks for being here, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.